everyone, it's Rebecca from Powered by Plants Consulting, and welcome to this week's episode of What's in Your Pantry. Today we're going to take an Italian classic and give it a little twist. Just to give you a little background, my husband and I are from North New Jersey, land of amazing Italian food. And my husband grew up in a very Italian household with traditional Italian food. So when we became plant-based, it was a little difficult because we thought we were going to miss out on all that food. So we learned how to turn all those classics into plant-based, and you can do it too. So when people ask me, what's like the first thing you should do to become more plant-based? I always tell them, take your favorite meal and make it plant-based. It could be as simple as taking one ingredient out and putting another. And that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm hoping you have some lentils in your pantry. We're gonna be using them to make a satisfying, hearty bolognese sauce. And bolognese sauce comes from Bologna, which is northern Italy, just north of Florence. Lentils are an excellent substitute for this recipe because they are hearty, they're rich in iron and protein, they're cheaper than ground beef, they're lower in fat, and also they're better for the environment and for animals. So a half a cup of cooked lentils provides you with 12 grams of protein, 32% of your daily dose of fiber, 15% of your daily dose of iron, and a lot of other nutrients. So they're really, again, just like your chickpeas and oats, they're an excellent choice. So I'm gonna go over some of the ingredients you're gonna need to make this sauce. Let's start over here. You're gonna need a pound of pasta. You don't have to use pasta, you can use rice or eat this on its own, it's that good. But if you want to, it's really good over pasta. So I have some over here. You can pick a whole wheat pasta, a gluten-free pasta, or a traditional spaghetti regular pasta. So we're also going to need 2 teaspoons of olive oil. You don't have to use any olive oil if you're watching your oil intake. You can sub that with veggie broth or water for sauteing the veggies, or you can use more olive oil than that. It's a nice amount that gives the recipe what it needs without adding too much fat. So I do use 2 teaspoons for this. You also will need 1 cup of diced onion, 4 carrots diced, 2 celery stalks diced, a teaspoon of black pepper. Now black pepper, that might seem like a lot to you, a whole teaspoon, but after cooking for a long time, it really gives it a lot of flavor and it mellows out after the 40 minutes. So a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of dry red or white wine. If you don't have any wine, that's fine. You can use maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar or red vinegar, but just remember you're going to have to make up some of the fluid, maybe with some veggie broth. 4 garlic cloves that you're going to mince either with a knife or if you have one of these garlic press. And then you're going to use 28 ounces of tomato of your choice. Now I prefer San Marzano whole peeled tomatoes that come in a jar, and this is what they look like. So I just want to show you. This is my favorite way to make a fresh tomato sauce. You see they are still whole. And what you do is you get in there with your hands and you squish them up and you break them up with your hands. And this releases the juices and just makes your sauce taste a lot fresher. So if you do have those, they're the way to go. You can also use diced or crushed. And if you really have to, you can use a prepared sauce in a jar. Just remember if you do that, that you want to cut back on the salt and the seasoning since that already has some. You're also going to need 1.5 cups of veggie broth, 1 cup of dried lentils. Don't forget to rinse them first. And then you're gonna need 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, which is a mix of oregano, rosemary, and basil. If you have those separately, you can use 1/2 teaspoon of each of those or do the mix. Or if you have some fresh rosemary and basil, you can use that as well. And then the last ingredient I like to use is baking soda. This just takes a little bit of the acidity of the tomatoes out, and you don't have to put this, it's an optional step, but 1/2 teaspoon is helpful with the acidity. Some people use sugar, and that's not my thing. I like to use some baking soda, but that's up to you. Okay, so those are all your ingredients. And now, rather than take too much time to show you in real time, I'm just gonna explain how to make this, and then I'm gonna show you the finished product. So the first thing you wanna do is take that olive oil, put a couple teaspoons in a medium heat on the stove, and you're going to add the onions first. And you're going to mix that up, saute for about 2 minutes, and then you're going to add those carrots, the celery, and a teaspoon each of the black pepper and salt. And again, mix that up and let it saute for about 5 minutes. At that point, you can add 1 cup of the wine, and you're gonna wanna let that cook out. So I would say about 6-7 minutes, let that wine soak into the vegetables. And once that does that, you're gonna add that garlic, and then you're gonna move on to the tomato that you squished up. And the broth is gonna go in, the lentils, the seasoning, and the baking soda. So the rest of the ingredients gets put in at that point. And you're going to let that boil. You're gonna get that really hot, and when it starts to boil, you're gonna take your lid and you're gonna put it on. And you're gonna make sure that you turn the heat down to simmer. So for 40 minutes, that's going to simmer in the pot. And every 10 to 15 minutes, you wanna give it a nice stir and then put the lid back on. About 20 minutes into the process, you could start to boil the water for your pasta. So I would say 20-25 minutes into the process, 15 minutes before you're done, get that pasta going, and then that'll be ready. Once the 40 minutes passes, you want to look at that pasta sauce. You want to see if that meat sauce is looking the way you want it to look. Is it hearty? Is it too fluid based? If it is too much fluid in there, you're going to take the lid off and just let it cook for a few more minutes until some of that water evaporates, and then you'll be ready. Once you see that it's how you want it, you're going to be ready to serve it. So I already put some linguine, and this is how the sauce is going to look when you're finished. Now there's 2 ways I like to do this. Normally I don't put it on top of the pasta like this, but I wanted you to visually see the sauce and how it looks. Normally I would put the whole pound of pasta in with my sauce for a couple minutes and just mix it up. This really coats each pasta and gives it all that flavor, and then you have it dispersed a little better. So you can do it either way. If this is how you do it, like to ladle it on top of the pasta, that's fine too. And then you can put whatever topping you usually like to put on your pasta, whether it's cracked black pepper, which I like. You could put some of that vegan Parmesan that we made last week. You could sprinkle a little of that on. You could put a little basil. We'll put a little basil, makes it look pretty. And I love my heat, so I use a chili powder and I nibble on this while I eat my pasta. So however you like to eat your pasta. That's it. I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.